So this is part 2 of the Spongebob worksheet. So we're going to be going over creating the hypothesis, which is number 5 on each scenario. Then remember to come back for part 3 where we go over numbers 6, 7, 8, and 9. All right, so today we're going to create a hypothesis. So you learned from your video notes that we will create a rough draft of our hypothesis, and then we will go back and edit it and create our final hypothesis. So that's how I'm going to do each of these as well. All right, so remember when we talked about hypothesis that it has 4 initial parts. It has the word if, then it has the independent variable, then it has the word then it has the dependent variable. So remember, that is how we start our hypothesis, and then when we reword it, we find our final hypothesis. All right, so we take our if, then we are going to literally copy and paste our independent variable. If new sauce, comma, then we're going to copy and paste our dependent variable, amount of gas. Now, when we read this, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, so we're going to have to reword it. So, if new sauce, then amount of gas. So, let's work the first part initially. So, we need to be specific as possible. So, we need to talk about who's eating the new sauce. So, if the people eat the new sauce, then amount of gas. Well, that last part, then amount of gas, doesn't really make sense. So we're going to reword it. So the hope is that the new sauce will decrease gas production. So that's what we're going to kind of rework. So if people eat the new sauce, then the amount of gas they produce will decrease. Now, remember we talked about how a hypothesis, I'm going to write this at the top. Hypothesis is, must spell hypothesis, is an educated guess that is testable and based on prior knowledge. So, is our hypothesis testable and based on prior knowledge? Okay, so we don't really have any prior knowledge about a Krabby Patty, but Mr. Krabs does. So we're going to use his prior knowledge, which is about the old sauce producing new gas. So this new sauce should produce less gas. So that's based off his prior knowledge. And it is testable. He has created groups. He has given half the sauce. He has given the other half the old sauce. And he is testing it. So our hypothesis is an educated guess that is testable and based on prior knowledge. So we're done with scenario number 1, or A. We're moving on to B. So B, our hypothesis, we're going to copy if independent variable, which is the treatments. Then our dependent variable, the amount of slimatosis. Well, it doesn't really make sense, so we need to reword it. So if, who is getting the treatment? Remember, being as specific as possible. So if Gary uses the treatments, then the amount of slimatosis will. Now here is where we kind of run into a crossroads. We can choose to either determine if it's going to increase it or decrease it. Now, remember, we're trying to base this on prior knowledge. If we don't have any, then we just have to kind of use a guess. So we're going to say that the treatments will, based off our prior knowledge about like antibiotics and things, we're going to say that the slimatosis will decrease. Now, remember, that is just a guess. It is testable, though. We can put it on Gary to see if it works. So it's based off our prior knowledge and it's testable. So this is a good working hypothesis. All right, going on to C. Write a hypothesis for the scenario. So we're just going to copy and paste if the muscle cream, then amount of marshmallows lifted. Okay, and we reread it. If the muscle cream, then the amount of marshmallows lifted. Well, it doesn't really make sense. We've got to reword it. So who's using it? If Patrick uses the muscle cream, then the amount of marshmallows lifted. Well, remember from our observation, the marshmallow muscle cream, or the muscle cream specifically says that it will double muscle power. So that's what we're going to put in our hypothesis. We want to be as specific as possible. So the amount of marshmallows lifted will double. You could also say here I'm going to write, we're going to go off this purple one. Amount of muscle power will double. That's the most specific hypothesis. Okay, going down to D, we're going to copy our independent variable, the microwaved food, then the dependent variable, speed of the fish swim, or speed of fish swim. All right, so we reword it. If the microwave food, then the speed of fish swim. Well, doesn't make a lot of sense, so we got to reword it. So who's eating the microwave food? So if the fish eat the microwave food, then the speed the fish swim will. So we're going to be using some prior knowledge. Okay, so we're going to think maybe it's like Gatorade. It makes people run faster. So we're going to say that the speed the fish swim will increase. All right, and it's testable, so we have a good working hypothesis. So that is going to wrap up our part 2 of this video. So come back for part 3 where we answer 6, 7, 8, and 9.